All right, so let's talk some Patrick Mahomes. He's been the guy who's been criticized maybe the most this week. Obviously, we all have very high expectations for Mahomes, and this season he has yet to live up to them. I think two things can be true at once. I think that you can say, listen, Mahomes is still awesome. He's a great quarterback that anyone would trade for. The flip side is that he hasn't been having his best season. I think both things can be true at once. I think one interesting thing about the interceptions as a whole is, so there's this narrative that we should talk about, which is that Mahomes isn't getting unlucky this season. It's that Mahomes is now having even luck this season, and he was lucky the past 2 years. That's not exactly how I would say it. Now, it is true he was very lucky the past 2 seasons. In 2018, his first year, threw 50 touchdowns, did turn the ball over, with 12 interceptions. So the past 2 years, he's only had 11 interceptions combined. But the reality is he's probably still kind of like a 12 interception guy. And this season, through 7 games, he's thrown 9 interceptions, but I would still say he's probably been like a 12 interception guy. It's been about the same. You look at, PFF's turnover-worthy plays, it's actually a little bit down this season than it has been in previous seasons. So that's kind of the intrigue there is an element of luck is going against him. Let's go to the film study and let's specifically talk about this Tennessee game where the criticism has really come to a head. So one element that's wrong with this Chiefs offense as a whole is just something like this, I feel like their running game just hasn't been as good as it should be, and they haven't used it as much. And I know people are going to say, well, you have Mahomes. Why are you running the football? In the past, I praised teams for abandoning the run in certain aspects. However, it's only in certain aspects. And for Tennessee, so they're playing cover 2 zone right here. This is what teams have consistently been doing to the Chiefs since the Super Bowl. This is what Tampa Bay did of just cover 2 in general, whether it's zone or cover 2 man, having 2 safeties deep. The way to counter that is to run with the football. Look at this blocking concept. Everyone's accounted for, right? The closest people are, you have corners, but they have to pay attention to the receivers, so they won't get into the play. So the next closest really, unblocked men will be the 2 safeties. So they're going to be about 15 yards down the field. You're probably going to get a good run on this one. This might be surprising, but Kansas City is actually 5th best in terms of yards per carry. And while that does seem surprising at first, it actually does make some sense because of the way teams have been playing them. They're going to have more success running the ball. Despite this, if you look at teams that have played 7 games, they have ran the ball the 5th least in football. So they're not running the ball a lot, even though they have this good setup. And on this play, they're actually still not going to get that many yards. The Tennessee game, they only averaged 4 yards per carry with their running backs, and they only ran the ball 5 times with their running backs, which is very similar to the Super Bowl. So this does have to become a bigger part of their offense, running with the football, and you got to start running better as well. But again, people care less about that. People care more about Mahomes, right? So what's going wrong with the passing attack? And while I would argue these two things both kind of work together, let's talk about the passing attack. So a play like this. So this is going to be, it's actually not cover 2. There are 2 safeties deep, but this is quarters. So basically both the corners kind of go deep as well. It's basically similar to how you would see cover 3, but with 2 safeties instead of 1 safety. And this is another error that the Chiefs, it's mind-blowing to me that they still haven't started learning how to attack this stuff, is you have 3 receivers running deep, but it's kind of just hey, go over the middle. Take this underneath stuff a lot more. You can have easy stuff open underneath, and when you hit that stuff and drive the ball down the field that way, well, then teams are going to start to play a little bit more aggressive, and that's when the deep plays can open up. If you think about Green Bay Packers and Aaron Rodgers and Matt LaFleur and what those guys do is they're totally cool with running the ball a lot, with taking the underneath stuff. If you're going to play cover 2 and cover 4, they're all right, cool. On this play, you have 3 receivers running deep routes right when this play starts. So Mahomes takes the snap. He's going to scramble outside the pocket. I've circled every single eligible receiver. You did have a couple of checkdowns, but those guys, it's kind of an afterthought, right? You're not really going to be able to hit them on this play, especially with Tennessee's covering this well. Do you throw the ball down the field here? You could take a chance, but this is kind of what people are criticizing Mahomes for, right? Oh, he's taking too many chances, throwing 50-50 balls to receivers. He needs to, play a little bit more boring sometimes. Well, the team needs to play a little bit more boring sometimes. There's only so much you can do if you're Patrick Mahomes. Mahomes has done a great job on this play of just extending the play, giving more time for guys to get open, and they're still not open. All Mahomes can do is run and pick up a couple of yards. So again, it's easy to blame the quarterback. What I always say is when a receiving core isn't getting open, every quarterback looks bad, especially because we don't see what's going on down there. So this kind of builds to it. And again, I'm not making excuses for Mahomes. He has some issues in his own right. But this play is a good example. I mean, again, we have to pay more attention to the fact that receivers aren't getting open in football. This is the reason why everyone thought that Tom Brady was washed up in his last year in New England. I mean, go back and pay attention to that. People legitimately felt like what a dumb decision by Tampa Bay to sign him. I mean, not really what a dumb decision, but more of I don't know if this is going to work out. He's getting up there. He did not look good last season. Turns out having receivers helps. And also, to be very clear, obviously, there's Travis Kelce and there's Tyreek Hill, but again, if they're not getting open on a specific game, then it doesn't matter what the name on their jersey is, they're not getting open. So the way this play works is, this is actually a concept I want to see Kansas City start running more. The issue is that, really with the Chiefs, when you want to run these concepts, so the way this works is you have cover 3, you have Tyreek Hill running a deep route, and you have Travis Kelce kind of run a little bit underneath. You then have a third receiver who's lined up to the offense's right, run all the way over the middle. The issue with a play like this is you really need 3 good receivers for this stuff to work, and that's kind of the best way to attack the defenses that Kansas City is seeing the most, and they don't really have that third option, which it's a big deal, and it's really hurting them. So this is kind of the thing where some people could say, with the Chiefs, okay, well, sure, Mahomes isn't the problem, but there still is some problems with the Chiefs offense, and that I agree with. So what's going to happen is that, again, you see the concept right when this play starts, so Mahomes takes the snap, and at this point, it's just taking way too long for the third receiver to eventually try and get open. It's just taking way too long for him to get there. I mean, you want to ideally get there in 2 seconds, and it's been way longer than that. Mahomes, I mean, he could take a shot towards Tyreek Hill. I actually think he probably should start doing that more, just throwing the ball up to Tyreek Hill, which is weird because people are saying he's not doing it enough. But in this game, if he did it more, he probably would have gotten more yards and more touchdowns, or at least a touchdown, right? So the play continues. So Mahomes scrambles outside the pocket, again, does a good job. And this is where the criticisms of Mahomes come in. But again, do we really criticize him for this when we praised him so much for this earlier? Mahomes sees that the Tennessee player is a linebacker on a receiver who has his back turned. Making this throw, I don't think is that horrible of a decision. I mean, either the receiver can adjust to it and he makes the catch, or it falls incomplete. That's typically what happens on this play. Watch, Mahomes is going to throw this one off balance and it happens to get tipped up and intercepted. I'm sorry, that's not a Mahomes issue. That's just a bad luck interception. I'm not saying there haven't been actual Mahomes bad turnovers. There have, but in this game, I didn't really think that it was that big of a case. And I think that there's no denying he's been really unlucky this year in terms of turnovers. This one is going to be another play where what's going to happen is that this was his other turnover. This is going to be a fumble right here. And I saw him getting criticism for this one as well. And my question is, are you criticizing him because you think this is a dumb decision and something he needs to learn from? Or are you just criticizing the result? Because criticizing just the result isn't a great way to criticize the decision. So it's man coverage, and when Mahomes sees this kind of stuff, he's usually either going to look for Tyreek Hill or just run the ball himself because he can move around. Watch how Mahomes takes a snap, and he's pretty much immediately just going to take off, start running with the football. And at what point do you think Mahomes should have slid? Because he did actually start going down. He had hit the ball in the opposite hand of where the contact was made. It was just a really good defensive play. So you want to hold on to the ball, got to hold on to that ball. But was it a bad decision? No, he's got to hold on to the ball. That's it. It's not a great play, but again, it feels nitpicky really to criticize him for this stuff. That's the way I view it. That really is. And we still saw stuff like this, where what's going to happen is that it's zone coverage. It's a cover 3 zone, but it's a bit modified because there's just a 3-man rush. right here. So that's kind of where this is going to, we're going to be a little bit more difficult for stuff to get open. As you see, Mahomes takes this snap, and he's going to, again, this time, offensive line doing a good job here. People have been criticizing the offensive line. It really goes to show whenever there's offensive issues, the O-line is going to be the thing that gets criticized. Offensive line's been good for Kansas City. It's not the O-line's fault whatsoever. When you have Mahomes as your quarterback, you're going to see some pressures and some sacks just because that's how he operates around the pocket, obviously, and the good outweighs the bad. You see here down the field, I've circled the 5 eligible receivers. Like, which one do you think that he should throw it to? There is kind of one that's kind of in a gap in coverage, so I can understand the logic there if you want to make that throw. That I would get kind of just right in the middle. That one he could throw to, but again, he's not looking in that direction at this point, so that happens, right? There's not a lot open. I think we can agree with that. There's 4 routes that aren't open, 1 that might be. So instead, Mahomes scrambles outside the pocket, and then he's going to throw off balance and hit an open receiver that got open because the linebackers moved in due to his rushing abilities. So he's still doing this stuff. He still can be great off script and everything, but there's just the on script stuff isn't working as well as it has in years past. To me, that is the main issue. If you want to say, well, hey, okay, sure, there's a lot of excuses. Mahomes is supposed to be the best player in the world. He needs to overcome this stuff. I don't know who overcomes it. Like, what quarterback do you put in that situation and have the Chiefs be like 5-2? I mean, nobody. I can't think of anyone in that situation. I think that the coaching has to be better. Andy Reid needs to do a better job of taking underneath stuff. I think that you need a third option, and I don't know if you can get that. You need to run the ball more. The run blocking has been good. You need to run the ball more. There's a lot of issues with this Chiefs offense, with this Chiefs team. Patrick Mahomes is not one of them, and I still kind of can't believe that I even have to say that, right? Again, he hasn't been as good as he's been in years past. Like, he's made mistakes when things have gone poorly for him. But yes, even the great Patrick Mahomes can look bad when the supporting cast around him isn't doing their part. So the one thing I guess you could throw on Mahomes is maybe just chuck it up to Tyreek Hill more. Like, do that, because Hill gets open a lot, and he was not targeted anywhere near as much as he should have been in this game, and that's on the coaching and that's on Mahomes. So that's maybe the one thing I would criticize him for, really, for this Tennessee game. I've already sort of talked about some of the criticisms in previous games, but I don't know. To me, it's when I watch this, I don't think, oh, this is on Mahomes. But in a weird sort of way, I mean, that could even be more discouraging for Chiefs fans, right? I mean, I guess not long-term, but like short-term, it's like, hey, like maybe instead of paying Chris Jones and Frank Clark and Joe Thuney, maybe get that third receiver that you kind of needed. If they got Kenny Golladay, how good of an offense would this look like, right? So maybe that's the real thing to put the blame on for Kansas City, I would say. But that's just what I think. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. This video ran a little long, but I thought it was, a lot of interesting stuff there. That's what I think. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.